Alright, hi everyone. So I've been, to say the least, a little bit negligent in recording these videos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break up all the trips that I've gone on over the past month into different videos. So I'm recording them all at the same time, but I just want to split them up because it gives me a little bit more time to talk about them and helps me keep them straight. So first up is the Paris trip, which I took more than a month ago to go see my mom in Paris, which was fantastic. We flew out there using Ryanair, and I had heard debating comments on Ryanair. Some said they were great, they were cheap, others said it's a bit rough. So this was definitely an experience. It was unlike any flight that I've ever been on before. There weren't so much gates as just a big auditorium where they held people until they were ready for a bus to come take them out to the plane. And the way they remained so cheap is by selling advertising everywhere. They were advertising on the overhead compartment bins and on the planes and on the buses, and the planes were really bright and open and decorated in loud colors, and it was quite an experience, and it was difficult to sleep on, to say the least. But I mean, they got us there okay, so it was cheap and it got us there. I guess that works, at least for that trip. So let's see, we went and we saw Paris is one of my favorite cities. It's definitely up there in the top 3 or 4 that I've been to over the past month. We went and we saw the museums, the Musée d'Orsay, which has a lot of the Van Goghs. We kind of did it backwards, and we saw all the lesser known stuff first and only had a couple minutes to go see all the cool stuff. So I mean, it would definitely be worth another trip to go see. So we saw some of the cool stuff there. The Louvre, of course. We saw the famous paintings there, the Mona Lisa, and a bunch of that good stuff. The Arc de Triomphe, Notre Dame Cathedral, some of the famous monuments in Paris. So we saw most of the sites. We were pretty well satisfied with all the stuff we saw. On Saturday night, a couple countries in Europe. I know Rome had one before we got here, but they have what they call their White Night. In French, it's Nuit Blanche, and a bunch of the shops stay open late, and restaurants, and they do a bunch of performances on the streets, and it's just a big celebration. The one I saw in France was really cool. They took the Tuileries Garden outside the Louvre and basically lit the thing on fire. They had thousands, if not a million, of these flaming flower pots. They were flower pots that had oil in them, and they were burning, and they had them all lining all the pathways. And the best thing they had was a giant orb, like a chandelier that was hanging from a crane of probably a couple hundred of these flaming flower pots. It was a big flaming chandelier that was hanging over the gardens. It was really cool, and I definitely want to do it at some point. It was awesome. I put pictures up, so of course you've seen the pictures of all these before I'm talking about it. Anyway, we by the end of the night, it was getting to be about 12:30, and we figured, yeah, I hope the trains are still running, because our hotel was pretty far outside of Paris. It was over by the airport. So we went down to go see if the trains were running, and the guy just said, "Go quickly, go now." So we started running to go catch a metro to the station we need to get to the train that went out of town. We got on the metro. We had 10 minutes left before the last train left, and we figured, okay, we're set. We got to the train station. It took us that entire 10 minutes to run through this humongous metro station. As it ends up, we missed our train. So we were a little bit despairing, trying to figure out where to go. We went up to the surface just to figure out, where we were, where we needed to go. We found out that there was a night bus that ran from one of the train stations, Gare de Lyon, I think. Gare de Lyon to the airport where our hotel was. So we were standing up on the street trying to figure out where we are and where we needed to go. I had my head buried in a map, and Mom says, "Oh look, there's a taxi. We'll just take that taxi, or ask them where to go." And I'm still looking at my map. I'm not even looking up, and Zach goes, "No, don't take that taxi." And I look up, and this is Zach's description, not mine, because I didn't get that close a look, but he said these were 2 transvestite prostitutes that stepped out of this taxi. So needless to say, Zach and I in our cassocks were not getting in that taxi. So we ended up walking I recall at one point saying, well, the city's only 6 kilometers across. So we ended up walking from downtown to Gare de l'Est, where we caught the night bus, and finally made it back to our hotel about 3 in the morning. Let's see. We went on Sunday. We went to Sacré-Cœur for Mass, and the liturgy I think it's just the liturgy in France, or at least at the 2 churches that we ended up going to while we were there, was really good. I mean, the music was something that I've really never heard. Maybe it has to do with some of the Gothic style of the churches there, but it was very haunting is the word I would use. It was very minory, I guess, if you're into music, like just kind of this ominous sounding stuff that eventually resolved, and they used it a lot, and the cantors were funny. Anyone who was singing on the altar or leading the congregation would be directing as well, which is something that we're not used to seeing, but it'd be fun to try sometime at the seminary, I guess. Let's see, we were going to leave Monday morning. We went to the airport to go catch our Ryanair flight back, and it was canceled. Of course, they didn't tell us this for about 3 hours after the flight was supposed to have left. So we wait in a line, and they offered to rebook us on a flight the next evening, which didn't really work because we had class Tuesday morning. So we opted for the refund, which I still haven't seen, by the way. I'm sending in paperwork for that. But anyway, we opted for the rerun, hopped back to Paris, and we're trying to find another way to get back to Rome from Paris because we need to be back for class. Luckily, Mom calls to see if we made it all right, and we hadn't, and she gets us booked on an Air France flight out of Charles de Gaulle, so we book it on over to Charles de Gaulle, find that flight's delayed an hour, but at least it leaves, and we finally end up in Rome. Let's see, it must have been about 9 o'clock at night when we were supposed to have been there by noon. So, kind of an adventure, and for the price difference between the Air France flight and the Ryanair flight, I would take Air France any day. It was so much nicer. So that was pretty much the extent of our Paris adventure. We did go, my goal is to go to the Hard Rock in most famous cities that we see, so we went to the Hard Rock Paris. Mom got me a nice sweatshirt and a couple gifts for people, so that was a fun time, and that's Paris, so stay tuned for the rest of the trips.